welcome back. So in this lesson, we're going to solve some of the angle questions using the 4 rules we've been talking about in previous lessons. So you all remember the 4 rules, right? First one is alternate angles are the same, then corresponding angles are equal, then allied angles are add up to 180, and opposite angles are the same. Vertically opposite angles are the same. So now, have a look at these questions. So I've got some questions linking to the corresponding angles. Then the point of these type of questions are always spotting the angles. Okay, try to spot the corresponding angle and all the different types of angles. Okay, so first of all, so corresponding angles are F shapes, and you've got a 57 here. The other angle X is 57, right? So we're spotting. The next one is, we already know that these two blue angles are the same because they are the corresponding angles. Then what we can do is we can come up with the equation, right? So 2x minus 10 equal to x plus 30. Then we can find the missing value of x. So now minus x. So we take away x. Then we can have x on the one side and all the numbers adding 10, that we got 40 on the other side. So we can see that x equals 40. If you calculate, just put the 40 inside the x, then you will notice that two angles are exactly the same. Then next one is alternate angles, and then so try to spot. It's alternate angles are quite tricky to spot. Okay, it's always the middle of the two parallel lines, and they are on the opposite side. So 68, then x is the other side, right? So 68. Then now this time we can spot the two alternate angles, and then let's make our equation. 3x minus 5 is equal to 2x plus 19. Then now we've got x and then numbers adding together 24. So x is 24. Then next one is allied angles. Allied angles are quite easy to spot because they are underneath the two parallel lines and they're on the same side, right? So can you see 121 and x are allied angles adding together? And then we can see it's 180. So x is 180. Take away 121 is 59 degrees is the answer. Right, so this one looks a bit different, but always try to identify the parallel lines. So we found a parallel line, so we can say 7x plus 3x makes 180. Then we add them together, that's 10x is 180. So we know that x is 18 degrees. Then now finally opposite angles. So I said opposite angle is too easy to notice. Now let's practice. Now after spotting the opposite angle, try to use different angles as well. I just wrote down the rules. Then I just add one more rule, is a supplementary angle. That's very useful. So two angles in the straight line, they always add up to 180. Very useful. So now, first of all, so let's see vertically opposite angles. So we know that x is 112 and then y is 68. Very easy, right? Then next one, so opposite angles, we can say that y equal x. Now try to spot other angles. Oh, yes, right. I can see the allied angles, right? So x and 59 is allied angles. So let's take the allied angle that they add up to 180. So x plus 59 is 180. So x is 180, take away 59, 121. That's why, so x is 121, and we also know that y is equal because they are the opposite angles, right? So move on to the next one. Can you see the opposite angles? So the other side is x. Then now, that what we can see is the line goes through the parallel line. Then yeah, these are the supplementary angles. X plus y is a supplementary angle, that's why they add up to 180. What else can you spot? Very good, if you can spot the alternate angles, that's amazing. See that we can see that x is exactly 63 because they are the alternate angles. So since we know the x is 63, then y is So 180 take away 63. That gives you 117. It's time to apply all four rules together, okay? So that I've got a bit trickier questions for you. That now I also prepared the 4 rules plus one more supplementary one. So I've got 5 rules. Then try to use 5 rules to find out your missing angles. Let's have a go. So when it comes to these type of questions, always begins with identify your pair of parallel lines. I've got a pair of parallel line here. Then now also another line that goes through the pair of lines. Then now what you can do is begins with the angle you already know. So we know that 85 and 38. So let's begin with 85. So if this is 85, then what can you notice? Yes, excellent. We can notice that the corresponding angle. Yes, great. Then we can see that this is 85 because these are the corresponding angles. Then now I can see the triangle, right? So we all know that all the angles inside the triangle add up to 180. So in that way we can find our x. So let's calculate them together. So you add up to other angles, that is 123, add x makes 180, so your x is 180, take away 123. That is 57. So our answer is 57 degrees. So next question. Now this one, I can see trapezium. So we did the shape lesson, right? What can you remember about the trapezium? Trapezium has got only one pair of parallel lines, right? So let's see, let's color the pair of parallel line, the base and top, right? Then we also see the line goes through a pair of parallel line as well. So then now we can see 2 angles. Exactly, these 2 angles are allied angle. Excellent. Then they're adding up to 180. So 110 plus x is 180. So x is 70. So the angles in a parallel line is sometimes combined with the shape as well. So trapezium and parallelogram is very common, okay? Then also triangles. So try to use your shape knowledge as well. Next one. These looks quite complicating, right? Whatever tricky shapes you have, don't worry, just identify your pair of a parallel lines. Then now, also the other line goes through these 2. Then did you notice that? Now, we can't deal with anything with 80, but let's see x. Then we can notice that corresponding angle, right? So this part is x. Then now what can you see? Then can you see a special shape in the middle? The shape in the middle of the parallel line is a triangle, special triangle which has got 2 same sides. That is a isosceles triangle, right? So I said before, try to use all your shape knowledge as well, okay? So now we have isosceles triangle. What do you know about isosceles triangle? 2 angles are exactly the same, right? But look, luckily we know the one of angles, that is 80. So let's take away 80, then we've got 100. Then the other 2 angles are 50, right? So we found the sum of the angles. Then what did you notice? I'm going to draw the straight line. Yes, supplementary angle. So we can say x plus 50. It makes 180. So your x is 130. Well done. Then now, this is a bit tricky because how many missing angles can you see? 5 missing angles, and then the problem is we only know 2 angles. But don't worry, if you use all of these rules, we can identify all the angles. So now, let's begin with finding our pair of parallel lines. So let's see. I've got a pair of parallel line. Then there are 2 lines go through them. So let's try to deal with the first line. Yeah, the blue one. Then let's see what angles can you notice. So I can see, easily we can find that E and A is the same because they are opposite angles. And we also know that D is equal to 58 because they are opposite angles. Then what else can you notice? Wow, it's quite tricky. As I already said, the alternate angles are not easy to spot, but we know that A is what? So we know that A is alternate angle with the 58. That's why A is a 58. Then directly we know E is a 58 as well. Then now we found almost every angles for the one of the line. Then now let's have a look at the other line goes through the parallel line. What can you see? Then now the green line, then we need to identify C and B, right? So what can you see? Oh, so we can see the supplementary angle, right? So B is take away 129 from the 180, then we can quickly find our B. So B is a 51, right? So since we know that B is a 51, then our final mission is finding C. So how can you find the C? It's easy to find the C. We can use a triangle and we can also use a supplementary angles, right? So let's see, C plus 58 plus 51 is 180. Then adding together C equals 180. Take away two other angles, sum of two other angles. That is 71. So we can see that C equals 71. Then we all found the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 angles, right? So, well done. Now, I'm going to give you a challenging question now. Look at this one. These are slightly different from the previous one. And then, these are the typical GCSE question linking to the angles with the parallel line. So, have a look at this. You've got angles and the lines. Then, what's different from the previous question is that you need to give a reason for each stage, okay? So, now, let's do it together. The first of all, identify the pair of a parallel line. It's always the same like this. Then you need to draw another line goes through the pair of a parallel line. Then try to notice the angles, right? Begins with the angle you already know, that's 35. Where's the 35? This one is quite complicating because you've got another line, but try to see which one is 35. Yes, 35 corresponding angle, you clearly see it, right? Then now, what can you see here is, can you see the right angle here? Right? So, one side, if one side is right angle, the other side is definitely right angle as well. Then now, let's try to find our x. So, the two angles in the right angle is called the complementary angle. So now let's write down. So I already said these are quite different from the other question because we need to give a reason for each steps. So I forgot to give a reason for the first one. So let's write it down. So RQD, the angle RQD is 35. And then now have a bracket, then write down y is 35, okay? So just simply write down corresponding angle, then examiner will notice that, okay? So just writing down the corresponding angle with the 35, okay? So now next step is we can say x plus 35 is 90. Why? Because these two angles are complementary angle. We already know what's complementary angle. Two angles add up to 90 degrees. These are called a complementary angle. Then now x is 90 take away 35 is 55, okay? So now, writing down your x, then now also check your regions, okay? So this is how you solve this type of question. Let's try to do it one more. Then this is very tricky. Why? Because I can see 3 parallel lines. 1, 2, another one, but don't worry, just try to identify parallel lines. Then now another line goes through it. But again, this one is the question type with the regions, right? You must give a region for each stage, and let's double check with your x. Your x is here with the red one, that we already know the 60 and 80. So already begins with angle you already know. So circle the 60. So have a look at the 60. Then we can notice the line that goes through all three parallel lines. So let's begin with them. Then now you need to have a really wide perspective. Can you see the G shape? The top line and the bottom line then goes through the blue line. Then we can see G shape, two corners. These are alternate angles, so I can say the bottom angle is a 60. So let's write down angle BQR is 60. Then don't forget to give a region, that is alternate angles. And now, can you also notice the triangle? So angle and shape cast is very important to have a bit like wide perspective, okay? So then I can see the triangle, all the angles inside the triangle, the interior angles of the triangle add up to 180. So let's give a reason as well. So you can just simply write angles in the triangle, add up to 180. So x equals 180, take away 140. So x equals 40. Then now double check with your regions. We give all the regions for each stage, right? Well done. This is the end of the second lesson. Just focus on the two final questions. These are different because we need to give a reason for each stage, and that reason is exactly linking to the 4 or 5 rules, okay? Last video is all about these type of questions, all the GCSE type questions. We will find the missing angles, at the same time we give a reason for the angles, okay? Now, all you need to do is just keep remembering the rules and then have a bit wide perspective to notice the angles. Okay, so I will see you at the last lesson. Bye bye.